Good morning, welcome to today's RC Coffee Chat. So welcome aboard to you. Now what do we have on the topics list for you this week? Number 1, don't play with lipos, a screw and a lump hammer because bad things happen. We'll get to that in a moment. Rarebear-tastic, which you can see on my screen right now, which is that way on the screen. We'll get to that one in a moment. I've got such a weakness for models, I really do. We'll be meeting Keifu today, not KF, and it's spelled KFU. Yeah, those of you with potty mouths may pronounce that slightly differently. Topic number 4 is, well, it arrived. You'll find out about that one in a moment. Topic number 5, we'll be discussing iNav. Topic number 6 is the Cloud Raptor Maiden has been done. And I've got some good news for you on that one. Topic number 7 is the hardcore wings. And topic number 8 is what's been bought this week. Something like a little area which I'm going to add in this week and in future weeks as well. Like kind of share some of the bits and bobs which I've picked up this week. I probably won't go into too many of them in any great detail, but just got to give you a heads up of what I think is kind of good and what I've been and put my money in over the past week. And topic, I've actually nicknamed that Shopping Bender. And topic number 9 is the Hobby King website still broken or not? Now, I just need to go and check on the chat. And Jake, thank you very much. It's loud and clear. Now, obviously, if you're watching the live version, you can see the chat to the right-hand side of your screen. And if you're watching the recorded version, you can see the chat going on about above my head. And of course, any questions or comments which you've got, do let me know either in the live chat, if you're on the live version, or in the comments section underneath this video in the recorded version. So, let's get into topic number 1, which was, oh my goodness me. Let's just set the scene here, is that as we discussed last week, I was going to get into take a second look at iNav as flight controller software for flying wings or fixed wing models. And I bought a F4 flight control board, or it might have been an F3 flight control board, I've forgotten off the top of my head right now. And unfortunately it turned up and it was faulty, which is the first kind of like faulty one which I've had. And I've had loads of boards and it just wouldn't go into its boot sequence to allow me to flash it with iNav. So very peculiar. So I thought I'd make a video about it for Banggood because they require a video of the faulty product. And I couldn't think of a better way of sending it off than with a Lipo, a big screw, and a lump hammer. Now, in fact, I'm just going to press play here.
That really has gone in there.
And I'm sure many of you have already seen this video. And wait for it. And that was me in panic stations. And I learned a brand new respect for Lipo batteries. Now, the thing to note that there was only one decent cell in that battery and it made that amount of smoke and mess. So on a very, very serious point, do go careful with your Lipo batteries. And what I've been and done here is tidy up all my Lipos over there, and I've got them down in the ammo boxes on the floor, something which I should have done a long time ago. And after doing that episode, I was like, oh, I'm going to treat these with an awful lot more care. So do go really, really careful of your Lipo batteries because they are basically incendiary devices. And when they go, they really go. Absolutely crazy. And I also want to put this into perspective. I saw Bruce and Von with a sledgehammer trying to send one of theirs off, which I'm sure you may have seen in one of Bruce's latest episodes. So me and a little lump hammer and Von with a very big sledgehammer took it to a whole new level. Good one, lads. But on a very, very serious point, go careful with your Lipo batteries. I learnt that they do, when they do go off, they go off very, very quickly and have gained a brand new respect for Lipo batteries. And I definitely won't be doing a live episode where I'm shooting one and sending off that little DVR camera at some date. at a later date. I'm just trying to keep an eye on the chat as well. Good morning. We will get to Shout Out Corner in just a few moments. Topic number 2 is Rarebear-tastic. So let me just get this little photo up on the screen. In fact, where have I got this one? Now, I'm sure many of you have seen the Maiden on 4S of the Rarebear. And what an absolute stonking little model. Now, I do know that it's a bit on the dear end. I've just been and bought myself a replacement, and it was $99, well, minus some points and stuff. When I bought the other one, I think it was about $70, something like that. But put it into, and it's only like a 620mm wingspan model, but it is the craziest model which I have in my arsenal right now. And when I say crazy, I mean absolutely bat poop, freaking crazy. That thing, when we were out flying on the Sunday, and I must have done 4 or 5 batteries back to back on the Rarebear, mixing up between 3S and 4S. Absolutely skits little thing. And also it is just so quiet. So those of you who want something which is ludicrously fast, and obviously you can fly it slow if you, why you would want to, I don't know, but you could also have it as a slow flyer, is that it is ludicrously fast and super quiet. And I mean like ridiculously quiet. It's like a baby EF Extra. It makes that kind of noise in the sky, but it has a much smaller wingspan, and it's got the same acceleration, and I'm not going to say as fast as, it's of a similar speed. We've clocked my one at 80 miles an hour on 3S and 102 miles an hour on 4S. Absolutely crazy little model. And last week I said when they come back in stock, I'm going to buy myself another one. I have literally this morning, they've come back into stock on Banggood, and I've bought myself a second one because that's just one of those models. If or when, I should probably word that correctly, I stuff it into the ground, is that I will be rather upset. So I've bought myself a spare, like I said I was going to do, because they are absolutely bonkers fun. Anyway, let me get to my point. Andrew put in the Facebook group that the bigger Rarebear, which you can see up on your screen, is called the Rarebear Elite. Now, I've been and got one of those on the way to me. It should be here with me this week, so we'll have that out for a Maiden on the weekend. This one is kind of special because you can run them on 6S. Now, I don't actually have any 6S batteries, but what I do have is some smaller 5S batteries, so we'll give it a whirl on. I'll end up putting 2, because they're only 800 milliampere hours. I'll put 2 those together in parallel, so we end up with a 1.6 5S battery, so that should be really good fun. And then what I'll also do is set up a configuration so that I can put or hopefully if it fits, 2 1.3 3S packs in there, set them up as 6S, and then we'll give that a damn good spanking. So the Rarebear Elite is going to be with me this week, fingers crossed, touching wood, and we'll take that out for a damn good spanking. The format of that model, I'm not, like as many of you know, I'm not a big Warbird fan, but what I do like is fast and crazy models, and the Rarebear, whether it's the smaller one or hopefully this bigger one, because it's a tractor motor configuration, it's super quiet and just ridiculously fast. So anyway, that was Don't Play With Lipos and the Rarebear. Absolutely amazing model. So with that said, let's move across to my favourite section of the day, which is where I get to say good morning, good afternoon and good evening to you. So I can see there's quite a bit of chat going on there. Lauren, I totally agree with you. That's going to be mental, Matt. Yes, completely Matt grade of bonkers. So have a quick... no, they put them in parallel, so the positive's connected to the positive and the negative's connected to the negative. So Elijah, that would give us 5S, but it would give us double the capacity. So we might be able to manage at least one lap around on that. And it does have a nice little mounting spot on the top of the Rarebear Elite to put an FPV camera, which is going to be bonkers. Right, anyway, scroll up to the top. So who have we got on here this morning? Good morning, Andy, and good morning, Brad. Elijah, we just spoke to a few moments ago. Jake, good morning. By the way, if you are on the live version, say howdy right now. We'll give you a shout out. Rarebear, good morning from, good evening from Wyoming. So Alex, good morning. Scrolling down. Alan, good morning. Lauren and Brad, good morning. Phil, good morning. Andy, good morning. Les, good morning as well. Scrolling down. Tim, good morning. Still Tuesday with Tim. And no, it's actually Wednesday, yeah? Got me confused for a moment. Scrolling down. Henry, good morning. Brian, good morning. Not really me, good morning. Killer Dave, good morning. Ruds, good morning as well. Good news on the job yesterday. That was happy days. Those free in fact, let's get this back to the screen a moment. Ruds, and anybody else which knows this one, 3 underlying values for this YouTube channel. Be humble, never lie, and be me. Okay? 3, like, life rules which you can apply to anything. So, Ruds, you obviously took some of that on board yesterday, so happy days. If you've got no idea what we're chatting about, Ruds went for a job interview yesterday, which many of you probably already know from the Faithfuls group. Anyway, get back onto Shout Out Corner. Thumbs, FPV, Thomas, good morning. Good morning, Jeff, 7Demo7. It's Henry, good morning. Scrolling down. Akeo, Tamad, good morning as well. And I think I've just skipped a couple of names. Bradley, good morning as well. And Andy Morgan, good morning too. And I'm just having a look at the chat going on there in the background. Happy days. Right. Let's get back to the main screen. Right, so a very good morning to you, good afternoon or good evening, as the case may be. Right. Next topic is the Keifu. Now, as many of you already probably know, Dave built himself what he named the Keisu. And it's a little flying wing which he's been built out of Deprom. And the irony is that it flies fantastically well. And if you haven't seen the episode yet, the link's on, it's on my screen right now, but I believe it's also in the video description for you. It's Dave's Keisu on 4S, and it's absolutely bonkers. Now, normally Dave flies it around on 3S, and it's really good fun. You get about 10 minutes or so flight time out of it, and I've been rather jealous of it for quite a period of time. And if you weren't aware, that Dave has actually been and published the plans for the model. So I've been in taking those plans, and my Depron wasn't as wide as Dave, so his is actually 80 centimeters wide. Mine is actually 70, and I've actually got her here with me as well. So I haven't done a scratch build in a very, very long time. Now this is going to muck around with the white balance on the camera, but there she is, and it weighs not a lot to say the least, and it's made out of 6mm Depron. Now, I'm not a big scratch builder to say the least, but I can put some foam together. So I think it's come out quite well so far. Now, what I am using, in fact, if I turn it up around that way, you'll see the configuration which I've gone. I'm using some 6mm carbon rod, which I've put across the bottom as the main wing spar, as Dave suggested. I've also put my spars on the underside, because I just felt that looked a lot neater. And I have made a little boom, some pair of fins to go at the top, which they'll sit up there like so at the back. And yeah, it's coming along quite nicely. I do like it. Now, I probably will run this one with 2205 motors to begin with. But that said, what I am going to do, I'm going to go and see if I can get a hold of myself some 1806 motors to pop on the front. Because the 2205s really do suck the amps. If they're both screaming for 30 amps each, then even a 65C battery is going to get rather toasty. So I'm going to see if I can get some 1806 motors to put on the front. Really straightforward build. There's no special angles or anything like that. And as long as you've got a right angle triangle to make sure your cuts are square, you really can't go wrong. You really can. Oh, one improvement on Dave's, which I know Dave's already mentioned for his. I've gone for much turn it around that way, you'll notice the amount of cutout which I've got here is that it's a little bit in its roll axis. It wants to go and then it's very slow to tip over. So I've basically trebled the amount of distance which Dave had for his ailerons, and I've made some bolster ailerons to go on this one. And yeah, that's the build so far. I think it's pretty damn cool. There are photographs and the photographs of this one, and of course Dave's Keisu are in the Facebook group. There's a link to that in the video description, and also in the video description is a link to the build plans as well. Yeah, really kind of impressed so far. Obviously, it all kind of depends on how well it flies in the sky. So we will be seeing this one out very shortly. It does need a quick spray over, a can of spray paint, and some laminate on this one as well. And I need to make a little nose section on here, and also sort the wiring out for her as well later today. So Elijah says, where can I find Deprom? I don't know. I actually got given this board by, I was given a great big sheet by Andrew, one of the chaps which we fly with. So a big hat tip to Andrew. Thank you for that, sir. I really do appreciate it. There is a massive difference between the Deprom, which I'm making this one out, and the foam board, which you can buy from Hobbycraft here in the United Kingdom. That stuff definitely is way heavier, and the Depron is miles lighter, that's for sure. So let's go and put the little Keifu off to one side. Let's have a quick look. Phil says, what are you using for the firewalls? I'm trying to keep it light as possible, so I've gone for some 1.5mm plywood. So I've just made a little square, drilled in the holes for the mounting for the X brackets, and just rounded the corners off with the Dremel. And then later today, that one definitely does need to be sculpted. Henry says 3D print nose for the Keisu. To be honest, it's just going to be quicker. By the time I faffed around with, say, SketchUp, for example, to make the object in a 3D piece of software, is that it would just been quicker just to mould it out of Deprom. So that's what I'm going to go and do. I'm going to stack up a couple of rings of Deprom and then carve them out and then mount the FPV camera in the nose. So let's have a quick look. Good morning, Tom, by the way. So that's the Keifu, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And like I said, I need to get hold of some 1806 motors to go on the front, so it's not so power hungry, and we get some longer flight times. And that model will be set up for FPV. Saying that, I've seen Dave's Keisu, and it flies just as well line of sight as what it does FPV. Really corking little model. Unlike Dave's, which only had two pieces on the top, I've gone, if I put it round that way round, I believe that's a KFM4 wing. So that's what I've been and done with that one, and that was down to, I think it was Les's and Andrew's suggestion in the Facebook group for the wing pattern. Dead straightforward. Honestly, as long as you can cut in a straight line and you can use a ruler, you're going to be fine. 6mm Deprom is what I'm using there. You could obviously use thicker. Maybe thinner. I wouldn't go anything lower than about 5mm, to be honest, just looking at it. Thicker would be fine, and no smaller than 5mm, and that stuff's 6mm, and it's nice and sturdy, and a nice bit of carbon rod in there to stiffen her up as well. Henry says 1806 5045 props. Yeah, could be that, or there's some 6045 props, something like that if it's only running on 3S. Could be good fun. I'm really looking forward to flying that one, to be honest. So a massive hat tip to Dave for sharing the plans. Right, topic number 4 is, it finally arrived. And it took a month. No kidding, that was the longest delivery I've ever had. And it just got stuck in EMS or Parsifals, whichever company you want to call it. It just got stuck. And it is, I need to go and grab it, the Skywalker Falcon. So, as many of you know, I bought this one over a month ago from Banggood, and it finally turned up. It's the only model which I've had go AWOL in the post. And I hasten to add, it did turn up, because you can see it here in my hands. The only item which I've only ever had gone AWOL was some marker pens for a whole price of £4.50, or even I think it was even $4.50. Anyway, coming back onto the topic, the Falcon. I want to say that I really like this model, and I genuinely mean this. I really do like this model, and I can tell you why I like this model is because on Sunday when we went out, and there is a big negative, and you might have been able to notice it here, is that I absolutely smashed this model around the trees. And I mean like super aggressive on the sticks and pushed my luck to the max. In fact, it caught me out once, and I had a very long walk of shame to go and get it. It's not a ludicrously fast model. It's quite nimble if you're very aggressive on the sticks. Because of its very thin wing profile, it is very susceptible to wind, again with the great big winglets on it as well. And I want to say that I like it, but and keep in the back of your mind, it does fly really well, and it would definitely suit. It definitely responds very well to a stabilizer in there, just to take the edge off it. Again, with summer coming and you getting thermals coming off the ground. And on Sunday we had thermals coming off one of the fields, and we were getting knocked around quite a bit. A stabilizer would knock the edge off that, so it makes it more enjoyable for you, especially when you're flying around FPV. But there is a glaring issue in the house, which is that I flew it up quite high because I was waiting for the lads to go and take off, and they took off, and I did do a nice big dive down towards the ground, and unfortunately I've been and lost my lid, which is very, very frustrating, considering that I thought that I'd had put enough tape on the nose to hold the lid down, and some two other little patches in there. And you'll also see in there, I've been and upgraded, and I've got some really big, decent neodymium magnets in there as well. And no, the bloody lid still flew off. It is the easiest thing to launch because up underneath there you've got two finger grips there, and then you've got a hole where the ESC wires come out, and you can grab it like that, grab it in your hand, and it is the easiest model to launch ever. And like I say, I'm trying to tell you that I like the model, but I can't ignore that we've lost the bloody lid, which is really frustrating because it's such an awkward ass shape to try and mould one out of. So what I'm going to be doing with mine is that this one is actually going to turn out to be the test bed for iNav, which is the next topic. Now, obviously, you can learn by my mistake here. Snafu from the Facebook group, he put a servo horn down here to hold the, like, physically hold it down. I thought that I used enough tape. Obviously, I didn't. So if you're going to get yourself one of these models, for goodness sake, don't put the magnets in the little slots in the lid. Put them around flat, and also go for a physical restraint on the lid, because it will blow off and you'll end up with a model like this. So this one is actually going to turn into my iNav and flight controller test platform. So keep that in the back of your mind while I go and stick this one down on the ground. So I want to say it's a good model. It flies great. Okay, and when you see the video, and those of you which are in the Facebook group, and there's a link to the Facebook group in the video description for you, is that if you go back and look at the DVR footage which I've got of that model, I wasn't kidding when I said I was smashing it around the trees. I had so much fun in that battery, and the batteries last. I'm running it on a 2200 3S pack with a Sunny Sky X 2216 1250 kV motor on the back with an 8x6 prop. It's got plenty of thrust in it, and it was very, very enjoyable, but I've lost the bloody lid. If I hadn't lost the lid, I would be here going, it's really good, you should get one. But I can't say that because I've lost my bloody lid because it's blown off. Very frustrating. So instead, it's going to be the platform of choice for iNav. So where do I need to, let me check my notes on here. So as last week, I mentioned that I'm going to go back and revisit iNav. Now I have got I've got a little mini F3 flight control board here, and it's been set up. Again, it's a bit of a bird's nest at the moment, so I've got the receiver hanging off, and I've got 2 servos that are hanging off. I've got a little baby GPS, and I've got a little OSD. There's some extra wires kicking around in there. I've got a little OSD board on there as well. So we'll be testing out iNav on that model, because if it stuffs, you know, I'm not gonna complain. Well, no, let's be honest here. I will moan my ass off if it gets stuffed in by iNav. But on the flip side, I've lost the lid anyway, and I'm not going to be too upset. But I will. I've got to be realistic. I will moan or complain if it ends up going in. So anyway, on a serious point, that is going to the Skywalker Falcon is going to be the test platform for iNav. I've got one board set up now. On a point here, I have been and bought an official Omnibus F4 F3 flight control board. I want to say actually a big thank you to Amantech as well. The reason why I'm saying that is because there was a Royal Mail strike yesterday or the day before. They shot out an email to let the customers know that there was a strike at Royal Mail, and there was going to be items going to be delayed by a day or two, which I thought was fantastic. So anyway, I chosen second class shipping. So I've been and bought an official Omnibus F4 F3 flight control board. The reason why I've gone for that one is because I wanted an official board, just make sure there's no difference, because the other one which I had arrived was Duff. Those have got the inbuilt OSD. I have also, and again, I've put links to everything I'm chatting about here in the video description. I also saw that these came into stock as well. Now that is the F4 V2 board, and the reason why I'm curious about this one, I need to go down and get a photograph so you can see the part which we're looking for, which is right there. Can you see that resistor? Well, my mouse didn't move. That resistor on there, that means that it's also got a current sensor on there, and if it really is the half ohm, then it should be rated to about 140 amps, which is a bit nuts, and you don't really want 140 amps running through those tiny little board connectors. But on a serious point, it should be fine for most models. So I've been and picked one of those up, and it was about, say, $25 or so, which I thought was a bit of a bargain. And I do like the idea of that one because it's got the current sensor built in, and also the same as the F4 V3 board. They've both got OSD boards, so they've both got OSD built in, which removes a complexity. So instead of like on this one where I've had to use a micro minim OSD board, one of these little things, which you've then got to go on and program and faff around with, is that in iNav you can set up the OSD using the iNav software. So it's kind of nice that it's all built in. So I've been and bought those, and I've bought another board as well. And I've also been and bought some decent GPS sensors, which are those ones there, MANs, those ones. I bought that one off eBay because I needed it quickly, so that actually cost me 20 quid, but you can buy them off Banggood for $20 or less. So I think I've got 2 or 3 of those on the way to me from Banggood at the moment. And the reason why I'm saying 2 or 3, because I do have high hopes for iNav. And I'm fingers crossed and touching wood it works out well, because I'm kind of excited because what should we say? Let me go for a clone board. $25 plus $20 for one of these. Obviously, you don't want any discount codes or anything like that. So for $45 thereabouts, so we'll say 40 quid in pounds pesos, is that you could have a flight controller which has got an OSD built in, stabilization, and return to home. So fingers are crossed. iNav this time around works with, and again I'll be testing version 1.6.1 off the top of my head, and the latest version, which is 1.7. I've got high hopes of this. 40 quid for those kind of features could be promising. So if it works out for me, I'll make a little series and show you how to do it. You will need some decent soldering skills, because unfortunately the connectors which come on the GPS unit don't match, to the best of my knowledge, the ports on those little boards. So yeah, hopes are high right now around iNav. So let's have a quick look. Jake has just made a quick point. Matt, the V2 clone on Banggood has a barometer, which the older F4 clone on Banggood does not. Brilliant, Jake. Now, I am very wary of the barometer because apparently that was kind of my issue beforehand when we were using iNav. Good morning, XJet and Sir Bruce as well. So, yeah, I am. My hopes are high for this one because it couldn't get any worse than what it was last time. And I've got a bit of fresh foam down here to use as a test bed. And like I said, I will moan if it goes in the ground. But at the end of the day, I've lost the lid anyway. So it kind of circumstances have worked out kind of well for iNav, to be honest. So we'll be using that one. Let's have a quick look. Brian says, you're not using S-Bus with that board, are you? Yes, I am using S-Bus with that little micro board on there. The CPU, I kept an eye on the CPU usage. I think it idles about 3 or 4%, so that's absolutely fine. Normally, like if you're flying using one of these boards in a quadcopter, for example, you should get concerned if it's pulling 30% of CPU usage. And no, this one is only pulling about 3 to 5% CPU usage. I can spit my words out. Happy days. Brian says you don't need a barometer with iNav. Yeah, that is actually a really big point. You don't need a barometer. Again, you can disable it in the interface, and you can also like perhaps desolder the device off the board as well. So yeah, very, very curious. Jake says, all the bits for my iNav Z84 are here. I'll be building the same time as you. Matt, happy days. So Jake, if you've got any questions, ask them in the Facebook group. And I may also come and ask you some questions as well as we go through. It's gone really well so far. It really has. Sweet GPS signal. Its stabilizations work. Return to home. And again, I've just put it out there and it's doing the right kind of stuff. Trying to make its way back home. It knows where home is. So I've got a couple of different boards on the way to me. Fingers crossed, all works out. Next topic. Now, as many of you know, I've had this one here in the office for quite a while. Now, it's the Cloud Raptor. Now, as many of you know, that I've had that one in the office for absolute ages, and I just never got around to getting it ready for flight. Until last Friday. Now, I want to go for the negative points first, because I feel it's worth pointing these out. The negative points is that this top film covering looks absolutely fantastic, but it really does not like to be laminated. And if you had to take a closer look, you'll see that it's coming out right on the camera, but it's a little bit patchy. Okay, that's one negative. The other one is that the EPP foam which they've used inside the wings itself is a much lower density EPP foam, and hence it's very soft and squidgy. And I did put it in a hedge or a very spiky bush, and I did take a nick out of the wing here as well. I kind of knew that was always going to be an issue with this one. I took it out on Friday and we flew it off the slope, so it wasn't like the best environment to do a maiden in. But the irony is that it actually flew really well on the slope because it is so light. We're only talking like a couple of 100 grams, if that, without the battery, of course. And yeah, very, very curious. So the two negatives, very, very soft foam. And also it doesn't like being laminated for that top covering. But it does look the part. Oh, and the elevons, I did have to put a bit of carbon fibre in the elevons because they felt a bit flappy on there. On the positive sides, I geeked it together, and I didn't put any extra carbon in this one. And I do like this foam which they've got in the nose area, which is really, really high density foam, which is nigh on impossible to make a dent into it. It's very, very tough foam. I don't know what type of foam it is, but I can tell you it is like the toughest foam which I've come across for an RC model. The setup, I went for a D2826 2200 kV motor, 40 amp ESC because I'm going to run it on 4S. So if you put that motor on 4S with a 6x4 prop, you end up pulling 37 amps. So I need a 40 amp ESC. I haven't flown at FPV yet, but I'm going to stick it down out of the way, mate. Is that the irony is that is the model on Friday which I ended up flying the most on the flight line. Now, the reason why I ended up flying it the most on the flight line is because it was very challenging wind conditions. The Rarebear was getting chucked around. I've got a Weasel, I've got a Weasel XP, I've got a Combat Flying Wing and a Zac Speed, also a Slope Soaring Flying Wing, and they all struggled on the day with the wind conditions because the lift wasn't. We really had to chuck the model to go out, and what lift there was in front of us was very, very light and also very, very challenging. And the irony is because the Cloud Raptor was a much lighter build, it flew in those conditions fantastically well. And that's the model which I ended up flying for the vast majority of the day. And I can tell you, it had some really, really rough landings. And also, somebody didn't tie up the propeller nut enough. And the propeller flew off halfway through the Maiden flight of all things. Yeah, absolutely enjoyed it. Now, I did take it out on Sunday, flew it line of sight, corking little model, tracks straight through the sky, brilliant axial rolls. Haven't flown at FPV yet, but do kind of like it. But what I would say, it is a bit on the dear side at $50 plus shipping. So $50 is a lot of dosh, we'll say 40 quid plus components for not the toughest models, not one of the toughest models in the bunch. So yeah, if you like it, it flies great. So those of you which are maybe on the edge about the Cloud Raptor, and I'm looking down there because I've stuck it on the floor, it does fly fantastically well, and it's not one for the cement mixer, put it that way. Let's have a quick look. Yes, Jill, just fell off my shirt. No extra carbon fibre. I kid you not. I thought the reason why I didn't put extra carbon in this, but there's one spar which runs all across there, okay, and it's not in there that good, and I was really worried about the wings like snapping off. And after the abuse, you can imagine on the slope with very turbulent conditions, the landings were a bit rough to say the least, and this thing's cartwheeled goodness knows how many times. It's still in one piece. I'm genuinely impressed on the strength on it so far. Obviously, when I stuck it in a spiky hedge, we ended up with a little hole or a nick in the wing over there. But it did stand up to my abuse. And it did take quite a bit of abuse. I've got the Maiden video of that one on the slope coming out shortly. And I've also got some flight footage from the flight line and also some onboard footage as well. Yeah, kind of like it, but just be aware, it's $50. So I do personally feel, it's a little bit overpriced for what it is. But with that said, we always hold our final judgment until the model is in the sky. That one in the sky flew absolutely brilliantly. So I do like that one. Let's have a quick look on there. Jim says, does all the carbon weaken the frame? Hold that thought a moment, Jim, because that brings us nicely into the last, well, one of the last topics of the day is the I kind of bought the hardcore 38-inch and I kind of bought the hardcore 44-inch wing from Ritewing a short time ago. And Jim, you mentioned about, so this is the 38, and by the way, the difference between obviously the wingspan's slightly longer, but also it's not actually that easy to see, is that the 44 has a thinner chord section on it for the wing. So let's have a quick look. So this is the 38 one. So Jim, you said about carbon, right? Can you see how many pieces of carbon are in there? And then if I turn it up that way round, you've got the same on the side, that side as well. And what you can't see is that in the inner frame in here, I've also put even more carbon fibre as well. And it is rock solid. I was actually genuinely surprised on how, well, no big surprise for the amount of carbon which went in there. Huge, great big battery bay to go in the front. Back compartment up here for the components like ESC receiver, maybe the video transmitter rammed in the back as well. Two humongous great big servo holes, so I've got some big servos to go in there. I am kind of missing the motor mount because the simple story is that it wasn't in the box when Chris sent it to me because they'd run out and the lad didn't put the motor mounts in the boxes when they came in. So I've got two motor mounts on the way to me. And I may have bought the hardcore 24 version as well, which if you want to know what the 24-inch version looks like, is it Jamie in the Facebook group who's actually been on and already been and built his? He's got some photographs on his build already in the Facebook group. So yeah, we've got the hardcore 44, which is a 44-inch wingspan, a slightly thinner cord by the looks of it, and not so deep in the cord as well. I'm saying deep, that lengthwise. In fact, why don't I just put them side by side, and you'll see what I mean. So you'll see that it's not as deep because the end is just here. It's about an inch, maybe 2 inches shorter on the wing cord at the wingtips. It's going to be absolutely bonkers. We just know that they're going to be schizo. So both of these are being built at the moment. We're building them in tandem at the same time. No idea on colour schemes. I'll probably just spray them red, to be honest, because as many of you know, red is the fastest colour. And I may also get some wraps done for them as well, but we'll see. So those are progressing on, hopefully ready for the weekend. We won't be out flying on Friday. It's supposed to be chucking it down here in the United Kingdom of wetness on Friday. So we'll try and get those built up and get them out flying for the weekend. Let's have a quick look. Sorry, Bruce says, anyone for a biplane wing? Yeah, go for it. Absolutely. I do. I have seen. Actually, I've been planning for that for a year for a bi wing. Yeah, give it a go. Give it a go. By the way, Bruce, just on a serious point, do you not need to, instead of putting both wings above each other, do they not need to be staggered so you've got one wing slightly set back than the other? I don't know. And yes, absolutely, red doesn't show the blood. I give you. And by the way, you can see the chat going on above my head. So yeah, the hardcore wings. I will soon have the whole family here. I've got the 44, the 38, and the 24 is on its way to me. Hopefully, get them ready for the weekend. Looking forward to flying these. All the videos which I've seen of these flying, they've all been grossly overpowered. And fly ridiculously fast. So kind of right up my street, to be brutally honest. Topic number 8 is the last but one topic for us here this morning. And that is a shopping bender. Now, what I've been and done is, I'm not going to cover each item specifically, but what I've been and done in the video description below for you is that I've put details of all the items which I've been and bought this week. There is a new model in there. Well, actually, there's 2 because I did buy a new Rarebear while I was at it. I've put a list of all the things which I've been and purchased over the past week, but there is one item which has stood out, which actually technically I bought last week and has been and just been and arrived, which are some pagoda antennas. Now I know Sir Bruce really does rate these, and I've bought 3 of them. They've just got different colours and different connectors on the bottom. So I've got 2 RP SMAs and 1 SMA connector. And let me show you the red one because that shows the pattern on. I don't know how well this is going to work. Come on, it's trying to focus on my face. I don't know how well you can see that on there, but you've got the antennas on the actual circuit board. I wonder if I can just tilt. Look, there we go. Can you see the board on there now? Like so. There's the antennas around the outside, and I know Sir Bruce rates these a lot. And one of the challenges which we've got now is because summer is on the way. Very happy about that at the moment, to be honest. But the negative side to that is the trees have started to sprouting leaves, which means that when you're flying on the opposite side of the trees in one of the flying sites, is the video quality does get a bit sketchy. So kind of hoping these are going to help with them. Have not used them yet, but I will use them in anger the next time I go out flying FPV. So yeah, really kind of looking forward to these to see what they're like. And I've put links to them in the video description. All the links which are in the video description are affiliate links. I like to be very clear about that. So if you use any of those links, you will be supporting this YouTube channel. So yeah, no idea on these. And I've got a collection of other bits. A couple of these boards, some GPS sensors, and some other bits and bobs which I've picked up over the past week. So yeah, those are the exciting ones which have been arrived. I've got some more cool kit on the way, and there's the link to the Unmanned Tech website in there for the official board, the V4 board or V2 board, of the F4 boards with the current sensor. I've put a link to those in there. Don't know what they're like, hasten to add. I haven't had any of those turn up yet, but those pretty damn cool, and they were pretty cheap, I think, as well. No, I will take that statement back. They were $9. I'm pretty sure I didn't pay $9 for them each. They've obviously changed the pricing, but yeah, curiosity on those. Don't know what they're going to be like, so we'll find out what they're like very, very short. Good morning, Martin, by the way. And I'm just having a quick look at the chat which is going on in the background. Right, so yeah, collection of items on the way to us. Now, the last topic for today is that we need to see if the Hobby King website is still broken or not. Now, those of you which don't know the background to this, is that apparently in May, the Sidewinder wing is going to be released. And it's now May. And today could be the day. So with that said, we need to do our currently weekly ritual of going to the Hobby King website and see if it's broken. And by the way, that pits does look really, really cool. What was it? King Craft, a balsa model. Bit fragile for me personally, but hey ho, each to their own. Anyway, let's go to the search box and we need to type in side. And then today could be the day. Winder. Right. You ready for this? No! I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Your search returns no results. Today is not looking like a Sidewinder day. I'm sorry to report that the Hobby King website is still broken. Sad day. I'm really looking forward to the Sidewinder, and if you've got no idea what I'm chatting about, just go and nip across to Ubles and type in Hobby King Sidewinder and see it flying around, and then you'll see why I'm getting mildly excited about it. Camel Rider, yes, I totally agree with you. That Pits does look the nuts. The finish on it is absolutely fantastic. So you've got to give them to the due. That is definitely Durafly standard of finishes on there. It does look pretty damn cool. And also, did you see that they noted that there were going to be other models in that series coming out later this year? So we are looking like we're going to set for some decent models this year. Probably out of my personal preference of price bracket, especially for something which is made of wood, which I don't think is going to take one matte style landing in a field of poo very well at all. But it does look like there could be some more. And also, Steve, if you're watching this, you can say more than 5 words in an episode, you know, for it as well. So let's have a quick look at the chat which is going on in the background. Right. Cool. Right, on that note, it's time for us to wrap up. I'm just going to quickly recap the topics which we covered here today. Number 1, do not play with Lipos unless you're mentally unhinged, because when they go, they go. Please do take that episode, which I did, seriously, actually, because that actually shocked me how fast that went up. Remember, that was only one good sell in a 4S pack, and it made that kind of reaction. I've still got the burn marks on the front of the iPad from doing that, and I kid you not, I've still got loads and loads of burn marks. Can you see that black dirt on there? It's just not wanting to come off. I properly scorched the iPad doing that. So Lipo batteries, for God's sake, go careful with them, because they are little incendiary devices. Topic number 2, Rarebear-tastic. Got the Rarebear Elite on the way to me. If you haven't seen the Rarebear fly yet, there's a link to the Rarebear 4S Maiden in the video description for you. Absolutely skits model, and like I said, when they came back into stock, I was going to buy another one. They came back in stock this morning. I bought myself another one. Absolutely batshit crazy model. Bonkers. I really do get my fill after 4, maybe we'll say 5 batteries worth, mixture of 3 and 4S, absolute full out, full throttle fun, absolutely bonkers. to the point I am seriously concerned that I am going to stuff that in the ground so hard. That's why I've been bought a replacement for it already, because they are absolute skits. Absolute bonkers. The Keisu, which I'm sure many of you have seen, we do have the Keifu version. My first, well, the first scratch build which I've done in a very, very long time. I did start out, and again, I'm always honest as best I can with you, which is the scratch builds. I did have a go with scratch builds in the beginning, and they just weren't robust enough for me. So my fingers are crossed that the time which I've invested in building this one is not going to end up with an absolute frustration. And I'm going to be brutally honest, to be honest, most of the time, I do much prefer off-the-shelf products, because you know that they're going to fly straight out of the box. Yeah, you've got to stick some electronics in. I understand why people like scratch builds. I'm not the biggest fan, but what I am a fan of now is that I've seen Dave's Keisu fly, and this is my little slightly smaller version called the Keifu, and I hope that it flies if it flies half as good as Dave's Keisu, this little Keifu should be really, really good fun. But it's not going to be, obviously it's made of foam board, so it's not going to be the strongest model in the world. So hopefully it does right, and both my fingers are crossed on that one. Really like that. Topic number 6 was, well, it arrived. The didn't get that right. The Skywalker Falcon turned up. Flies absolutely brilliantly well. If you're really aggressive on the sticks, you can make that model do some crazy stuff. I will put some DVR footage up. In fact, actually, I'm going to commit on this one. Later today, I will get some DVR footage up and out on YouTube for you, so you can see how aggressive I was with the sticks on it. It did respond really, really well to it. It's not probably designed to do the stuff I was trying to do with it. Does fly great, decent efficiency, but the bloody lid flew off. Okay, so if you're going to get yourself a Skywalker Falcon, for goodness sake, physical restraints on there to hold that lid down, because I've lost mine, and that's put a big thumbs down on the model from my point of view, because it flew great, it handled like pretty good. It was going to be I was looking forward to it. It flies great with FPV, you know, but I've lost the bloody lid. And again, I waited a month for that one as well, so I'm trying to be objective as possible. I've lost the bloody lid. So anyway, iNav, we will be looking at that. We've got a collection of boards on the way to us, some with inbuilt OSDs. We'll see how that goes. Again, I need to get them in the sky, and I want one with the OSD board built in so that I can show you, and we'll make a couple of tutorials on that one, and I will try and make that as simple as possible for you. It does kind of help. I have a bit of a background in making video tutorials, so we will do, if iNav is up for it, we'll make a little mini series on iNav specifically for fixed wing models. Topic number 6 is the Cloud Raptor Maiden. I do feel that model is overpriced at $50. It does look the part, and ultimately that is like the ultimate reason why we always hold our final judgment until the model flies, because it does fly fantastically well. I just feel it's slightly overpriced. If you've got one, I know that you're going to enjoy it. It does fly great, and it has surprisingly done very well with the amount of abuse which I gave it on Friday. On the slope, it's been in hedges, it's been in trees, it's cartwheeled an untold number of times because the wind was so turbulent, and landing it was a bit of a challenge, any model on that day. That is the Cloud Raptor was the one which I flew for the majority of the day on the flight line. Absolutely brilliant. We then spoke about the Hardcore 44 and the 38, pair of wings being built at the same time. I've got the power packs here as well for them. Looking forward to flying those, hopefully ready for the weekend. We'll see how that goes. Topic number 8 is a shopping banner. The one products, well, we mentioned about the flight control boards, but I've also received some of these little pagoda antennas. I do think they are pretty cool. They look the part. Let's hope they actually perform the part. So we'll see how they do next time we go out and fly FPV with those. And again, I've put a list to everything which I've kind of might have bought this week in the video description for you. There's a whole raft of different collection stuff, including some new Sunnies as well. And unfortunately, ladies and gents, the Hobby King website, as we saw a few moments ago, is unfortunately still broken. So maybe next week we'll see the Sidewinder. We are in May. The ETA for the Sidewinder Flying Wing was May. It is now the 10th of May, and I'm really looking forward to flying that one. Let's have a quick look. Apologies, I've not really going on the chat. Sorry, Ritewing's chatting about. Anyway, you can see the chat which is going on above my head. I've been here chatting. Apologies if I've been and missed your chat. I will go back and watch this episode myself. So, on that note, I would like to say a massive thank you for joining me here today for today's RC Coffee Chat. As many of you know, when we were doing these on a daily basis, I absolutely loved them on a daily basis because you were able to keep tabs on stuff which was going on. Unfortunately, I'm going to mention the W word, which is work. Work is, a quick update on work, is going very, very well. Hired a new developer, and we are making outstanding headway now. So yeah, RC Coffee Chats are going to be, for the foreseeable future, continuing on a weekly basis just because of the sheer amount of work which I need to get through. And again, I don't want to make the point on this one, never apologise for not being here for an RC Coffee Chat because you're working or something like that, or you're tired because of work. Work pays for hobbies, you know, whether it's you're flying or you're into computer gaming or vaping or whatever floats your boat, you know, work pays for models. So right now, work is a massive priority for me. We've got an awful lot to do in stupidly tight deadlines. So yeah, thank you. I want to say thank you to you, and I genuinely mean that, for appreciating that I just can't do these on a daily basis currently, and the weekly format is great because you kind of see these bits on here. And of course, if you're subscribed, if you're not subscribed yet, underneath this video where it says Matthew Ogborn, I'm Matt, by the way, press the red subscribe button, and I do my best to post at least an episode a day, and you can catch up with the progress of these ones as they go out to get to flown, and some adventures with like the Skywing Edge 540, a model which I've had here for best part of 2 months, but it is very much a fair weather flyer. Got that out, we put the camera underneath, and we gave it a damn good spanking. So yeah, on that note, it really is time for me. Yes, you could work your boobies off to go and buy hard drugs, Bruce, if that floats your boat. Anyway, on a serious point, it is time for me to wrap up. I would like to say a massive thank you for you joining us here today. There is a Facebook group which goes along with this YouTube channel. It's free to join. It's called Rag the Nuts Off. There are 800 plus fellow pilots like myself and you, which are just into RC, you know, and we have a good chit chat every single day. And those of you which remember the conversation about RUDs, we do sometimes go off topic into real life stuff as well. So on that note, from myself, Matt, thank you very much for joining me here today, and I will see you again next Wednesday. And on that note, I'm going now. Have a fantastic day. Cheerios!